It's a very big game. You should raise the price.
Andrew.
Okay.
Andrew, right?
Andrew, you keep the time.
No, Andrew has a comment.
Andrew has a comment. Okay, Andrew.
I think there is somehow a disconnect between the motivation and your results, right? Because if you are throwing a big net in the beginning, saying we need to know whether institutional investors are good for shareholders and whether they should collude or not, you can't lump all kind of institutional investors together. There may be some institutional investors whose behavior and information gathering can be useful for shareholders, and there are positive externalities, and the others that will not. Also, the coalition between institutional investors should matter. So I think what you should be doing, continuing on what Miriam told you, is to open the black box and see what is this group that you call institutional investors, and look inside that group and see the economics of those different type of institutional investors.
Okay. Lucian.
Sure. One is for this idea of your repeated player, there are two ways in which rejecting it can happen in the future. One is that controllers in general will give better offers, but also that this controller specifically will come back in half a year or a year and give a better offer. I know that in the Israeli setting it happens, so you might want to...
Yeah, we have 15% of the sample are repeated offers. Repeated meaning second or third offer after the first one failed.
I see. So you might want to look then, in addition to this, right now you're looking at each offer as an observation. But you might want to divide it and say, conditional on the first offer being rejected. What's the likelihood that this company will get a second offer? And conditional on the second offer being rejected. What's the likelihood of the third offer being made? And also each time whether it pays off in terms of getting a higher relationship. The other thing is, for robustness, you might I was kind of found it interesting that you have some companies that don't have any institutional holdings. In the US, each company has some institutional holdings. And you have this variable which is 1, 0. And the question is whether this is just a proxy for something else. Might those companies that don't have even a single share of institutional investors, might they be very small, might they be different in some way, you might want to look into it.
Yeah, I thought the most interesting number you had was that 95, if I read this right, that 95% of the shareholders have to agree.
No, you have to reach 95% holdings in the firm. So if you start from 82%, that's the average pre-offer holdings, that means that about 13 out of 18.
So in other words, 5.1% of the shareholder base can block it.
Yes.
To me, that seems like an extraordinary number. I mean, it's lower in the States. Originally in the States it was 100%. All shareholders had to agree. That presented obvious problems and they changed. But to me, that's a very interesting number. And I don't know what the institutional detail is, but if you look at rights offerings that are in the money, a lot of small retail customers are confused by it and don't participate. I don't know what the laws are in Israel on that. If you just don't respond, are you included or are you excluded? But that 95...
No, you don't bid your shares, then it's against, you know. You don't bid your shares.
Well, in that case, the 95% is even more amazing. Because you're going to have some people in the hospitals, you're going to have confused widows and orphans and what have you. I mean, that's an extraordinary number. So I think the thing that's interesting is to compare that number of 95% to what the number is elsewhere in the world. And I think you'd probably find some startling differences. between these freeze-outs in Israel and elsewhere.
I think it's 90% in European countries in Europe, it's all 90%.
Yeah, but I think there's a huge difference, at least to me, and I was never that good at math, between 90 and 95%. I mean, you know, it's a holdout. But anyways, to me, that's a very, I mean, if that's true, Israel's an outlier, and an outlier can make an interesting paper. But it's a different paper, that's the next paper.
Okay, thank you. So in my Bernie.
So I don't see anything.
So what do you say?
I don't see anything in the
Should
paper
collude?
that would shed any light on hypothesis 3, right?
Again.
I don't see anything in the paper that will shed any light on hypothesis 3,
Okay.
strategic behavior.
Yeah.
And I actually don't see any way that you can get there with your data, right? Investors may well have different reservation prices for different firms. We know this. We don't observe the reservation prices, right? It's interesting that you don't see higher premia in the accepted deals and the rejected deals, but we don't have any visibility into why. And I was trying to think about how could you test the strategic behavior possibility?
I think if he does it sequentially, you get it. So for
Over time, but you don't have enough deals in Israel to do this. You're never going to get any
Because of
statistical
95%.
power.
How many financial institutions do you have in the data?
I think there are about 15, maybe
15. So
between
if you have
15 to
200
20.
deals, we can see the variation between those that have rejected and those that haven't rejected.
I think the following pattern.
Yes,
I think the following pattern will support the very strategic behavior. If you find that when they reject the first offer, then either they get a higher offer later on, and if they never get a higher offer, then it declines. This means that they didn't, when they rejected the first offer, not so much because they thought that the long-term value was low, but because they were bargaining hard.
That's the way of
Trying to get a higher offer the second or the third time. If they bluffed, they were too tough, and they didn't get a higher offer, then so basically that pattern would be consistent with.
Okay, thank you. In my hat as the conference organizer, I have to step down. And what do we have now in the program? A break. Okay.